the studies that they put out, are the ones that pass muster, right? So they're maybe they're perfectly legit.
Yep.
And it's just a brilliant product. Could be. But they could design these things in such a way that it's going to look like that anyway. And if it didn't come out very well, they just don't publish it.
Yeah.
Right. Because it's their purview.
Yeah.
So cherry picking.
Yeah. Well, and food does that as well. Now, first of all, the vast majority of nutritional studies and research that are published are put out by the food industries and the Seventh-day Adventist Church, who are heavily involved in the food industries, right? So you had Kellogg's.
So that's insane.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like no one's picking that if you're not in the know.
No, that's right. Yeah.
Well, this is all came out. Belinda Fettke found a lot of this stuff out, and Dr. Robert Lustig in America is a professor at UCSF or professor emeritus at UCSF. He was a pediatric neuroendocrinologist. Sort of broke the case open on how toxic fructose is, and he wrote a book called Metabolical, and he goes into that as well, actually showing a lot of these connections as well. So these are facts. And I've spoken to a lot of people in the Seventh-day Adventist Church, and they're like, "Oh yeah, no, that's all true."
Yes.
And so that's the thing. So just Coca-Cola, they spend 11 times the amount of money per year on nutritional research than the NIH, the National Institutes of Health. So that's just Coca-Cola. So that's not Pepsi and Nestle and Kellogg's and all the rest of them. And the Seventh-day Adventists put out a lot too. So we have Sanitarium Foods here in Australia.
Yep.
One of the largest, cereal producers and food producers.
Yeah.
They're owned by the Seventh-day Adventist Church. They were founded by Ellen G. White in like the early 1900s. I believe it was Ellen G. White, but that was as part of the Seventh-day Adventist Church, and so they were tax exempt.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and so that money goes into funding their research and their programs and putting people in positions of power, like various professors and things like that. Like I believe like Walter Willett, Professor Willett at Harvard is a Seventh-day Adventist. He's the main nutritional researcher at Harvard, and this is why Harvard. You go to Harvard, you get a master's in public health. I debated a lady who had done that. She was from Australia. She did a master's at Harvard. And she went in thinking one thing. She came out a vegan. It's all vegan, all great. Well, this is because this is what they're sort of pitching there, and is from the Seventh-day Adventist Church through their proxies.
Do you think it's like a nefarious push by the Adventist Church, as in like trying to lower testosterone and lustful behavior? Do you think that's specifically what's driving that, or do you think it's just a scary coincidence?
Well, it certainly was.
Okay.
Originally.
Yeah.
I mean, that was, they write about it. Like you need to eat plants. You have to stop eating meat in order to suppress these lustful urges. Now, they may not have realized that this was suppressing testosterone and actually making you less healthy.
Okay.
Right. I have no idea if they thought that. I don't think they did. I mean, from the sounds of it, they were quite sincere in their beliefs that this was a good thing to do. But Kellogg was like a zealot. I mean, he was really, really hardcore about this sort of stuff. And so, I don't necessarily think that he was trying to hurt people. I think that he just really bought into this.
He just wanted you to stop jerking off.
Yeah, that's it. It's just
Well,
because there's this book that he was reading as a 12-year-old. His dad saying this is religious, this is a religion, right? So you're supposed to believe this stuff word for word. And she is a prophetess. She's a prophet from God, and her word is coming through, the word of God coming through her. That's what you think. And when you're a kid and you have no other reason to believe otherwise, that's going to shape you, and that's going to really influence you. And so it seems to have done that for him. And so he was just like, this is really important. We need to do this. Now, since then, there's probably just a lot of profit incentives and things like that. But I have no idea. I don't. But the top down, speaking again with people in the Seventh-day Adventist Church, they say, well, actually, most people do eat some meat, but they definitely say you shouldn't eat meat. That comes from the top down. It's like, hey, you shouldn't eat meat. It's sinful. It causes lust and all these sorts of things. They're still pitching that same story. Yeah. But he said that the one guy I was talking to, he said that there's really only like 5% or so that are really like hardcore vegan zealots. The rest eat less meat and more plants, but they'll still eat some meat. And but he said it's definitely from the top down.
Do you ever consider that for yourself? Like obviously they're so far invested on that side, but for yourself as a mate advocate.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, you're looking pretty healthy and all the rest of it. Yeah, but, you know, like at some point, if you found that it wasn't working or something, some health thing came in and you realised you needed to change.
Absolutely.
Would you find that difficult?
No.
No.
You know, if I found that there was very hard conclusive evidence that what I was doing is wrong, I would want to change it as soon as possible. Especially because I'm in a position that people are listening to me, and I have no interest in hurting people.
Yeah.
I do